So, welcome everybody. I am so excited about today. Not only that it is snowing like crazy here in Calgary, and honestly, the last winter I did zero skiing. So maybe this year is the year to just spend some time, get out into the mountains. But I am speaking with somebody today who probably, I'm not sure what the weather is like out there, Rivers, but you are on the other side of the country.
I am.
Welcome.
Yes, I am. I'm a time traveler. I am actually 3 hours ahead of you, Lisa. So it's nice in the future.
I know. Well, and honestly, like I'm in the north side of Calgary and I get friends from the south side of Calgary saying, it's nice down here. Come move to the south. We get all the wind, but honestly,
Right
love it out here. Yeah. I think with the conversation today lends itself so well to the idea of be where you live and just embrace where you are. And I think if I've really learned anything over this last year, almost 10 months, is that we have to use what we have and do what we can. And but it doesn't let us off the hook to really engage thoroughly with the people that we're serving. So Rivers, I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much.
I am just, I guess, as an introduction for those of you that haven't met me before, my name is Lisa Garrow, and I am the founder of Can Event Consulting. It has been my joy for over 30 years to be planning all sorts of different events in all sorts of different places around the world now and then too, which is a lot of fun. But over the last 12, since I launched Can Event Consulting in Winnipeg when I lived there, with the heart of what does mentorship look like for in-house teams, for volunteer teams, for entrepreneurs that are planning their own events. I had a lot of friends that were starting nonprofits, maybe some kind of a community initiative, maybe a small business, and we're really struggling. And a lot of our coffees with Rivers, and you probably get this because you are an entrepreneur, but you're in that world.
Yes.
And where a lot of my friends were saying, either this works or we're done. Like this is it. We're closing the doors. And everything I do, I would call myself an event coach now, but as an event planner, this idea of connecting well, engaging well, and knowing the people that you're serving so well that they'll just keep coming back for more. That's the whole idea of the name Candy for the business, is that what you do can be irresistible. It can have that attraction and that sweetness, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So welcome, Rivers.
Thank you,
I would love to just pass the mic to you and have you introduce yourself. I know that from the little time that we've talked, I think the last time we talked, I was in BC and I was in my van, and we do what we got to do.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, you engage when you can, right? Where you can.
Exactly, that's right. But why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself and what you're up to these days, and why engagement sort of matters to you?
Yeah, so thank you, Lisa, for that. So I'm an East Coaster. I'm on the East Coast of Canada, just above the state of Maine. When I'm talking to my American friends, to give them the context, I always say drive across the border, wave to the customs officer, and they'll wave back. But yeah, so I've been an East Coaster all my life. Born in the city of St. John in New Brunswick. Primarily lived in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, but was born with an entrepreneur in my blood, in my body. It oozes through me, and I believe it's why I'm here on the planet, is to, one, be an entrepreneur, but also to help others succeed as an entrepreneur. It's a real passion of mine, and I'm just blessed to have it and blessed to live it. And so for the past 20 plus years, I've been really driving home that journey of starting and growing businesses. Yeah. And one of them and also along that way, also in serving entrepreneurs. So I'll get into my company in a second, but
Yeah.
part of the three things that I really enjoyed in helping entrepreneurs succeed is I was a founding board member of Startup Canada, which now
Right.
serves entrepreneurs from coast to coast to coast, like 300,000 of them. So that was a great journey. I was the entrepreneur in residence for the province of New Brunswick for 3 years. So that was fun, and also the University of New Brunswick. So, that servitude really comes into play for me, but I'm a believer you can't serve unless you are actually playing the game. That's when you really understand the elements associated with how to best serve the people that you want to connect with. And so many businesses, many scars, more falls down the mountains than views from the top of the mountain. But one business that has been consistent and where we connected with was I started a chef-based business, a talent agency, 22 years ago, around when the Food Network was starting. And we looked for opportunities for our freelance chefs, and whether it was catering, whether or not it was restaurant management, consulting, whatever. But our mainstay has always been the cooking class programs. And one of our main clients is the Sobeys organization, where we did cooking classes for them literally for over 20 years. And we didn't end doing it because of them or us. We ended it because of COVID. But that's really, and I lost all my businesses from COVID. So all of that stuff I was doing before, totally gone. We were doing 7-figure revenue, gone. But being an entrepreneur, my friend Haley Bohan, she says, we were made for this. So entrepreneurs get punched in the face every day. This just is another punch in the face. And so I pivoted, brought our model online, and am now enjoying a virtual journey from the comfort of my home. And it's taken me now throughout the US, throughout Canada, and just recently into the United Kingdom. So I consider COVID, amongst all its ugliness, to be probably one of the greatest blessings long-term for me once I continue the journey that I'm on right now. And that's how we connected, because it was LinkedIn.
Exactly. That's
we made a connection, and then we called up, and there she is in her van. And then, so I always ask her, the big joke is, are you in your van today with Lisa? So that's a bit of my journey.
Oh my God. Well, and it's funny because a lot of my clients, and you would know the world too, right? Like when you're running between meetings and you just need a place to find Wi-Fi or use your hotspot and do the job, right? And I remember we were doing a diversity series, live diversity series. My van had to go in to get fixed, and I ended up at a baseball diamond away from the traffic a bit, with everything propped up sort of on one of the benches and literally sitting on the grass. And the whole world of entrepreneurs, as much as we get kicked in the teeth, and we get back up, and I think that's the nature of it, is that we really, I personally think it's from a desire to serve. Like you just see these not just an opportunity necessarily to make some revenue or that kind of thing, but you're really, for a lot of people that I'm surrounded by, you're just driven by this need to connect well. And I see so much of that in all of your businesses, that a lot of it, even Startup Canada, when you're talking the numbers of entrepreneurs and the increase of entrepreneurs over the last, 20, 30 years, I think in the past, even when you and I maybe started, being an entrepreneur was a little bit like, well, what's that big word? And why are you calling
exactly
that? Totally. Like, you're owning a business? Well, yeah, kind of.
I remember, people would ask me, what's your dad do? He's a businessman. The word entrepreneur didn't even exist then. And in a way of describing what your dad or your mom did. So yeah, bang on. It's come a long way.
Well, and thanks for giving us a bit of context on where you're coming to this conversation from. For those of you that are looking at, we've got this banner on the bottom, and it says Candy Consulting .ca/guides. For some of you that are new to the conversation, I have really been feeling like for some time, and entrepreneurs, many of you that are out there that are running your own businesses, you are entrepreneurs, you are running fast, and there's so much to do. And for a lot of my friends and my clients, running an event is just something that has to go along with everything else. So it's with life, it's with kids, it's with running the business, it's launching your new product, whatever it is. And then you add this opportunity to connect with your customers. in a way that you are now creating some kind of an event, and we call them connecting strategies. So what is one of those connecting strategies? Now that everything has moved online, we have started doing all of our workshops online, and the Slash Guides is now Candy's short guides to learning. So because you are moving so fast, and a lot of you, I do teach, Rivers, I teach at the MRU event management program here in Calgary. It's an online course.
Right.
But I find a lot of people I work with, they're like, well, I just can't take the time to do a formal training or to be at every networking event. I just need to know what I need to know today so I
Yes.
can get over this hump. So the next Short Guides to Learning is coming up on November the 5th. And the topic of that guide is engaging online guests. And that's why, Rivers, I think having this conversation with you is so valuable, because you have done this multiple ways. And in particular with your new ChefTorial, which is so incredible. And
thank you.
And for me, innovative in the sense of something that takes it to another level. And when I was writing some of the material for the guide, this idea of, we used to hear a lot, oh, you can show up in your sweats, or you can shop in your sweats, or you don't have to wear pants. Okay, whatever. But I think, honestly, I feel like, and Rivers, maybe you could feed into this a little bit, but it feels like that's now old conversation.
Yes.
Because whether we're in yoga pants or not, whether we're dressed up or not, whether we can just show up in our living room, I'm sort of in my kitchen family room right now.
Right.
This is becoming normal.
Normal.
So the idea of using that as some kind of a way to attract people to your online event is really just scratching the surface. It's not really what the discussion is for a lot of guests. What are you hearing from people that are online? Like, what are they saying as far as what they're expecting from an online event, or maybe an online meeting or training or ChefTorial?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. You know, it's funny when you talk about the new norm. I remember the day, at least I don't remember if you do, but if you brought your kids to work, it would be like, what are you doing? If you brought your dog to work, what? So, you know, it is a transformation, and I think it's a lovely transformation, to be quite honest with you, because it really gives us much more options, much more abilities to embrace work as a part of life. I hate the words work-life balance. To me, it's all life. And so you just got to figure out that. And so what am I hearing? Interesting enough, what I'm hearing is the consumer has embraced it. I'm talking the average consumer has embraced the connection to be virtual, because as human beings, we need that virtual. We need that connection. And so we're going to always be looking for it. And if we can't get it one way, we're going to do it another way. And so by having these virtual technologies such as Zoom, such as Be Live that we're using here, allows us to have that connection. So that's one side that I'm discovering. And then on the other side, which is so interesting to me, is I belong to the International Festivals and Events Association, and about 80% of the members that I've come in contact who are responsible for events are fighting virtual. They don't want to get into this world because of, well, I don't want to be a TV producer. They don't want to go through the learning process on how to do an event. So they're waiting for life to go back, or they're trying to, I mean, in the United States, it's a little bit more of a Wild West these days, but, and I say that respectfully, it is. It's some states are wide open, other ones have got tight controls, but you know, the sense of, oh, we'll just try to plug and play it into somewhere and Band-Aid it. And they're not exploring the huge potential to develop, one, their events online, but then two, how do we do it in an experiential way, which the customer is open to exploring. The customer is open to participating in, because they're desperate for a connection. So it's very fascinating for me. So that's what I'm hearing and seeing and experiencing from my perspective.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that, because I just saw a post yesterday saying a virtual event isn't an event.
Right.
And I have been preaching for 12 years now, since I've had this company, that any connection any gathering, any opportunity to meet each other, and at the time, face to face, eye to eye, rubbing shoulders. Anytime you have an AGM, a team meeting, any kind of gathering where it is focused on either your project or your company or your nonprofit, or you're sharing the message. I've got a communications and media background, so it's always kind of buzzing in my head. But it's this idea that where is your message showing up? And where does that message actually meet with the people that you care about and you want to talk to? And that is an event in my world. And I feel like as much as I am not as techie as many people, or even a lot of event planners out there, we talk a lot about collaboration. And even with my academy, I talk about being the director of collaborative learning.
Okay, love it.
I made the name up, but you know, it's
what's your name? You own it.
Exactly. It speaks to this idea that we are not learning unless we want to be collaborative, unless we are teaming with others, unless we get other voices into the mix, unless we have diversity on our teams. And when we talk about a virtual event being engaging, I do feel as event planners that there is this, and I think I said that earlier, but this responsibility to show up and to put everything we have into it. So as far as where you've come with ChefTorial, how is that serving that need for somebody on the other side of the screen? So we talk a lot about the command center and the community connection. So the ChefTorial team and the chefs and yourself, that is that command center of you're doing something expertly. And the community connection is where people are on the other side. Can you explain that to us? Like, how does it work? And why does it, in your mind, create really strong connection with the people you're trying to talk to or serve?
Yeah, it's a lovely question, and it's one of our differentiators. And I love the fact that you said you got to show up, because part of this journey is to make sure that we're trying to replicate what it would be like in a live scenario, face to face. So let's do as best we can virtually. I think that's brilliant. So you know, the niche that we play in is and has always been a central point for community gathering anyway, and that's food. And when you look at discussions, when you look at connections, whether they happen to be in your home, whether they happen to be at a large event, food is always a part of it. And it's always a part of great discussion. Because particularly if you've got guests coming over, you want to make sure that they leave with that sense of that was a lovely time, that was a fun time, and so on. And so where virtual has been challenged with is how do you bring in that food experience into play so that people are feeling that the food element, the food component has been addressed at the same level that everything else is looked at. It's not Uber Eats, hey, we'll see you in an hour, go grab your pizza and your hot dog. No. So we have figured out how to bring the food and beverage experience to play in virtual events that allow people to, one, still connect, two, learn, three, grab experiences by creating what we call virtual kitchens. And the virtual kitchens are you're invited, and we typically like to do it in intimate groups of say 10 to 12 individuals who are part of an audience. And this can be one small event of 10 to 12, or it can be in groups of 10 to 12, which make up 200 people. But the chef, the menus decided ahead of time. The arrangements to get the ingredients to the homes are done ahead of time. And you come and you know that you're going to make this meal with the guidance and the connection of the chef. So the chef is answering questions. We may bring in a sommelier. We may bring in a mixologist, whatever. Ultimately, for about an hour and 15 minutes, we are engaged with making bread together and then breaking bread together. And that is the bridge for larger events to keep the community connected, keep them engaged, keep them inspired, and then also keeping their stomachs full in a proper way so the event continues on. You don't put heavy stuff in there so that people go to sleep in the afternoon. It's the same model as you would for a large event. So that's how we've been able to do it. And again, it's interactive, it's live. and of course it's virtual, and that's a big difference from, hey, you sit there and I'm going to tell you how to cook. No, you're going to do it with me. We're going to become friends. We're going to become colleagues. So that's the model that we've gathered, and so far people are I love the word that you make, connection. I think that's people are connecting through food, through our experiences, and that's the piece we've been able to bring to light. And we can do it in large groups too, which is good. And people say, well, I can get a chef to do that. Yeah, you can, but what about if you need 10, 20, 30 at a time? And that's where we come into play.
And this idea of kind of reaching through the screen, right? Like there's something to be said for things that are familiar or feel familiar. And I'm a firm believer that 2021 is going to be one of those years where we're just getting back to the heart and the soul of why we do what we do, what's important to us. And as you're talking about making and breaking bread together, this idea of community being real with each other. I have a friend that does a lot of our meetings, client meetings and team meetings over a meal. He'll cook lasagna, he'll cook something, and there's a big table, or there used to be a big table that we could have 10 people around the table, and he'd have his apron on and be serving while we're having the meeting. And
that's lovely.
The whole purpose is because he sees people not just as somebody that's going to come and speak or be on a panel or help plan the event, but they're people that are whole people, and having rich conversations over a meal is so valuable. What I'm curious about is, what kind of feedback are you getting from the ones that are on the other side? So you're reaching through as ChefTorial, you're reaching through and you're giving that expert, fun, engaging experience. What are you hearing from the people on the other side? So the ones that are actually experiencing it, what are they kind of experiencing? What are they saying?
Yeah. So first of all, my litmus test of success is pretty simple. I want my guests to be our guests, the company, our clients' guests, to say, "Oh my gosh, that was an incredible experience. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of fun." It's not. I don't want them to walk away and say, "Oh, that was nice. I got something to eat." And so that's the first thing that we're getting is, "Oh my gosh, that was so cool. That was I never expected that," because they're going through a unique experience. And they're coming in this, well, what am I going to see? And what's this movie going to be about? I know a bit about it, but what am I going to experience? And so they are saying, that was really cool. I really, really, really enjoyed it. The other thing that's coming is a lot of them are asking questions. And that's what I want. I want them to be able to, and they always got to say chef. They can't say Lisa. They got to say Chef Lisa. And so they're understanding that they're with, a rock star here in the culinary world. But they're also, they're asking questions, which is they're learning. It's simple. It's not just about the food. It's about knife skills. It's about how to properly set up a kitchen. Those sorts of things are coming into play. And then the third piece, which is so interesting, is you remember when you were a kid in elementary school and you were asked to show your work?
Yes.
And that's my turn now. And I get to sit, and the sense of pride comes out of people. So now what we do as part of the deal is we say, okay, Lisa, show what yours looks like. And this smiles come on the show and everybody applauds. You do the applause, the Zoom applause. And so I always say business is based on touching the head and the heart. And that's what we're coming out of this, is the sense of people saying, wow, that was really cool. And more people are actually participating now than what they were before, because they're getting to understand the answers to these questions, where before someone would say, oh, I'm just going to watch. Okay, well, that's allowed, no big deal, but the fun is experiential. It's much more fun riding the roller coaster than sitting and watching people on it. So,
that's right.
Well, that's what we're getting. Those are three biggies for me.
I think the idea too of having, I often say that it's up to us as the people that, and if we talk command center, like the ones that are putting on a show, whatever that show is, that we also have to be that cheering squad. We have to be the ones that are saying, unmute yourself. We have to be the ones saying, show your work. Because I think there can be some insecurity around that as well, right? Because it's different than being at an event with 300 people or 1,000 people, and you've got a chef and you're talking with your cohort or your people that you love, or you've brought, or your spouse, where it becomes kind of this insular experience in some ways. When now you see 20 or 10 people on the screen, what I found with some of our workshops, people will be pretty shy about either showing themselves or even chatting or putting their hands up or agreeing. There's a passivity.
Yeah, passivity. Yeah.
Passivity.
Yeah, I think that's a word. I don't know. Maybe it's another word. It's another word you own.
I make up my own language.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So this idea of where we're calling people out.
Right.
We're not only showing up for them, but we're calling them out to an experience and saying, if you allow yourself to go there, if you allow yourself to introduce yourself in a chat, if you allow yourself to cook something with a chef, show it and be proud and show up for yourself, if nothing else. What a gift that is to not just you and that experience, and you're engaged with the experience, but you're also going to encourage others to do the same.
Yeah, I love it.
And I love the idea of food being already familiar. So you're just wrapping it in a way that now it's accessible.
Yeah, beautiful. It's all good comments you're making, just brilliant. And one of the things we do is we actually look for someone to host the table. So so they're responsible for the engagement piece, whether it's us or whether it's the person that's organized. And we just did something for the TD Bank. The VP was the host, and so she made sure the conversation was happening, whether or not it was like this or even in the chat line. She would write, "Hey Lisa," even though Lisa wasn't talking, she'd include her in the chat line. That's the beauty of the Zoom technology that plays. The other piece that's cool, how we differentiate ourselves, is remember we used to go to a banquet hall for doing events, and everybody got the same meal. Yes. Remember those? It didn't matter. It's like, what's everybody's having? So 3,000 people are all getting the same meal. With our ChefTorial, we can do 10 different menus now in the same event. Amazing. And so that sense of connecting is even deeper because of the diversity associated with it. So some cool things come out of virtual that can't be delivered. Imagine having 10 different meals at an event. You couldn't do it.
Well, and I will say, because I honestly believe not only a new normal, but I think we are forging into territory we've never dealt with before. And as things open up again, I honestly believe, and I think this might be a good thing. The expectations of our guests are going to also be increased. So once we start opening things up, we can't just say that was 2021, virtual was a thing. It was just something we had to do.
Right.
And now we're going back to events as normal.
Right.
Normal. I personally believe that will not happen.
I totally agree with you on that. Again, these people that are waiting to go back to normal, it ain't coming, folks. I mean, I'm no prophet here, but I'm betting on it. At least there's going to be hybrids, because the other thing that comes out of this beautiful play of virtual events, is all of a sudden you globally have brought the world into your events, where before it might only been for those that could afford to come people out of a company. Now everybody in a company can attend one of these events for a smidgen of the price that it would be to send the two to Calgary or to Toronto or to Miami. And so I think that value is there.
I think the gift in that is that, again, because people are getting familiar with the platform, familiar with what virtual means, familiar with logging in for an event or a meeting.
Yes.
Not only will there be an expectation, but I think we will have, if we collaborate well, like I said, I'm not the tech person, but I've partnered and collaborated with a lot of great people that do streaming all over the world. They've got all sorts of great ideas on how to add to an event.
Right.
And if we can get our heads wrapped around what events in the future will look like, how do we integrate tech? How do we look at a global perspective on a thought or an idea or on a product launch? It just blows my mind.
Yeah.
And so I love this conversation, Rivers. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you.
What a gift, not just to me, but to everybody watching. I want to encourage you that we're not done yet.
No, we're not.
Aren't done yet. And in fact, we are right on, I think, the tip of the iceberg on what's possible.
If I could just close with one comment, it's more of a prophetic than it is. I was talking to somebody the other day and said, we're privileged to be at this point in time. You talk about bringing community back together. 10 to 15 years from now, we're going to say, whoa, we went through that and look what happened. And this whole new lovely world's coming.
Totally. And 10 or 15 years from now, we're going to be having a whole different conversation with another generation of planners. Yes. Like I turned 50 this year. Woo, what a great year to turn 50.
I'm 57. I'm ahead of you. It's a great decade.
Yeah, talk about the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
So right now, the people that are coming into their careers and they're learning what this means. Like, and if you think of teenagers now that are going to be leading the charge in 10 or 20 years, that excites me, because then we won't, we might still be the mentors and we might be feeding into wider projects. But and you probably see this with entrepreneurs as well. There is so much energy and so much ability and willingness to adapt. That I find incredibly inspiring. And so I'm just trying to get that fire. My daughters are sort of at that, 24, 20 age. And I often will be tapping them for ideas and what else is going on and what am I not seeing?
Yes.
So thank you for opening our eyes today, Rivers. Where can they find you? Where can they find ChefTorial?
Well, I appreciate that. And that's, I really do. It's very simple. It's you go to our website, ChefTorial. It's like tutorial, except with chef, cheftorial.com. And we've got some cool things happening there. And I'm so excited to invite people. But again, I'm blessed to be here today. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your audience.
Of course. And we'll do a watch party as well. So I'll make sure to run this a couple of times. We're going to be putting it on our YouTube channel. And I will put all of the details in the chat below. So if you need to and want to get in touch with Rivers and his team and anything else he's working on, I know that this is just one piece of that pie, of the Rivers pie. So we want to make sure that that people can get in touch with you and book ChefTorial. Take a look at what their schedule is like and options are like for 2021. A lot of our clients are looking at, a couple months down the road. So don't delay in connecting with Rivers. You want to make sure you add that to your event for the next year. And for the rest of you that want to follow us in our guides, Candy's Short Guides to Learning, it just launched last week. And we've got another one coming up on November 5th. And that's why we're having this conversation today. The guide for next week that's coming out, it's going to have a full length, it's a full hour webinar. And then there's also a downloadable booklet. So then the topic of that is Candy's Short Guide to Engaging Online Guests. And this has been a great start just to let people know about that and start that whole conversation. So if any of you have ideas, add those to the chat below as well, and we'd love to share them. So thank you again, Rivers. So great to see you. I'm sure this won't be the last time.
I want to say thank you, Candy. I'm sure you get that all the time, too.
All the time. I'll answer to both.
You're a rock star, Lisa. Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.